Reggie, you're up. Is it Marvel time?
Yeah, guys, I was at the cinema 30 minutes ago, right? I just rushed back for this live. Okay, so Marvel's Shang-Chi set to ring up Labor Day record at theaters, right? So the cinema box office once again open and in a huge upswing. This is the latest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And personally, while I was watching it, I found it a little bit cheesy because it's like Marvel has a system already, that kind of humor, that kind of plot, that kind of enemy, that kind of building, right? So it's a little bit cheesy, but I can tell why some of my friends, some of my Asian friends or Chinese friends specifically, are raving over it, and it may be a little bit of they want to kind of express themselves. It may be a little bit of this whole idea that it's been a long time since we've gone to the cinema. So with all that adding up, wow, Marvel Shang-Chi just drew in 8.8 million in Thursday's night previews, right? So even before the main releases, they are already getting very, very big numbers coming. And let's not forget that Marvel is one of Disney's biggest business at this point in time, and its studios has been hit for a very, very long time. In fact, 2 years of cancellation, right? So this
Wow.
may be an upswing. This may be a revenge spending within the cinemas. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I,
I mean, you go for it, Sim.
sure. Curious. Pre-COVID, like I don't follow the cinema as closely, but do you know like if it was pre-COVID, what numbers would have looked like by now? Like what is 8 million or 10 million considered like really good for a first day or like a pre-opening type of play, right? Or yeah. So
Right,
I
right.
mean that's really I guess my main thought there is like okay, relative to COVID life, um, it's a huge success, right? But I'm just curious, like relative to pre-COVID, like how much is like Disney like not really able to capture anymore due to people not being afraid of going into cinemas.
Okay, so Disney banked in about $13 billion in worldwide box office in 2019. Okay, so I'm assuming 2019 is pre-COVID, although it came in at the tail end of 2019. But yes, Disney banked in 13 billion, and record holding is like Star Wars 700 over million. And if you think about it, usually in the US, the box office accounts for somewhere around 50% of the overall business, and once it leaves the US, then the distribution is a little bit different between different countries, right? So it's I would say within the first week average, the last I recall, I don't have numbers at the top of my head. The last I recall, about 100 million, 80 million is a great first week, right? Or the first weekend, because most of the people are consuming a weekend, right? So I
Yeah.
think they are off to a good start, because when I was in the movie theaters, half the theater wasn't available. Like I was being segregated by the other guys. So I'm not sure if that's the policy in other parts of the world, but overall, I think it's a great testament to the stickiness of Marvel's universe and the kind of desire for people to go out and spend and revenge spend. So all the whole revenge spending, revenge consumption may have some basis to it, right?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at some numbers as well. So Iron Man, if we just take the first Iron Man, I think it was 3.5 million for the opening day, which was a Thursday. Right. And again, this is very, very early on, right? When Marvel was just getting started. Now, if you want to look at the bigger guys, your Infinity War, for example, that was at 258 million for that weekend, the first opening weekend, right? So
Weekend.
Wait,
Holy.
in one
yeah.
weekend, 258 million? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yes. And that was Infinity War, which was also eclipsed by Endgame, right? So I don't actually have Avengers Endgame, which obviously contributed to the 13 billion that Reggie just talked about. So Shang-Chi is obviously not going to get that following that as much as Infinity War, because it eclipsed Captain America, all the other superheroes, right? But given it's something you don't just want to compare it to Iron Man, something new, 3.5 million, and don't forget that was pre-COVID, right? Of course, 2000, early 2000s. And this is 8 million with the restrictions around the world, together with the fact that I'm not sure about Europe or the US, whether they're restricting cinemas, but I think 8 million is pretty decent if I extrapolate from just Asia standards. So I think that's a really good thing. In all fairness, I've been wanting to go to the cinema for the longest time. And I think I really, relate to what Reggie's saying, right? Like it's
It
that
felt so
revenge.
weird. Yes, yes, and it felt honestly, it felt so weird going back into the cinemas. So that's it's quite an experience. By the way, I want to add that Black Widow also released itself this year, right? So Black Widow grossed
Yes.
13.2 million on the first day of preview, right? So Black Widow definitely is a much more high profile
Yes.
character in the Marvel universe, and yeah, you are seeing Disney continue to hit hard home with Marvel's franchise, really bringing in a lot of cash. And let's not forget that now they have Disney Plus. So after 45 days, after 60 days, depending on the different contracts, it will then all go on to Disney Plus, right? So once it goes on Disney Plus, then it's a whole different churn. Of course, Scarlett Johansson is very unhappy that it went on Disney Plus immediately. But okay, that's a sidetrack and different story. Altogether, Disney has built an entertainment consumption ecosystem with TV, with theme parks, with movies, and with streaming, merchandise, licensing. I think it's a company that it's definitely worth for everybody to go and learn about and study about, right? Whether or not it fits your palate, that's up to you. Okay, cool stuff.